My intention today is that whoever is listening to this will deeply connect with the information, that it will resonate on not just an intellectual level, but on a deep soul level. I set intention that those that need to stumble across this podcast will, and they'll be reminded of who they truly are.
Aloha, and welcome to Healers Voices, the podcast that brings you the healing heartbeats of Maui and around the world. I'm your host, Jessica Brazil, and together we embark on a journey to explore the inspiring stories of individuals who are making a profound impact on both local and global levels. From the powerful healing of Maui, we are here to amplify the voices of healers, visionaries, and change makers. We believe in the transformative power of dialogue to chart a future where all life thrives, living in harmony with the natural world and embodying the spirit of aloha.
Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. We're really excited to have you here as a visionary thought leader in human consciousness and practitioner of quantum healing, hypnosis technique, among many other skills and talents, and most of all, just having this loving sense of presence and openness to service of the collective. So thank you for being here. Before we get into too much talking on the conscious level, I wanted to invite you, if you would like to open up the space in any way with a practice for our listeners to connect and drop in with us today. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be joining you for your podcast. I love to begin any practice by setting a conscious intention to focus on the heart space. And some call this the voice of the intuition, the voice of the higher self. It's the part that knows everything and that is connected to all things. So I just invite everybody right now just to drop into your heart space. You might want to close your eyes and just notice the energy shifting from the conscious mind, from the thoughts, and bring your awareness to your heart and just feel your heart. You might, if your hand is upon your heart, notice the beating, the subtle beating of your heart. And I invite you to set this intention that what I need to know right now, what I need to hear, will be revealed to me. I affirm that people that need to hear this message today haven't stumbled upon it by accident. You're hearing this for a reason. And my intention is that the reason will be revealed to you during this podcast today. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Whew. I'll take a deep breath for a moment and just connect to the prayer of that and the ripples of intention, how powerful we are when we really connect in this way. And it really just lands me into this relationship you have with quantum healing and how you've come into relationship with this word quantum. So I'd love to connect with you and our listeners around what that word means to you.
Great question to begin with. We hear a lot about the quantum reality, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum healing. It's a relatively new concept within our collective consciousness. And I think it encompasses so much. We understand that from a quantum reality, we don't live in a predictable reality that we once believed that we did. Some call this the quantum field. Some define it as the field of limitless potential. I think that's a good name, a good label for it, don't you?
The
Limitless
field of
potential.
limitless potential. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, that's very fitting with the unknown and the infinite potential. Infinite potential. Yes. Yum.
And we all have access to that. Now, there are different ways of articulating it. Some call it the higher self, some call it universal mind. Wisdom traditions have called it in the past and still do God. They're all synonymous with each other. They all mean the same thing. We have different ways of articulating, but we point to that one truth. And something that I always love to tell people before I do a quantum healing hypnosis session or any other healing session that I conduct or a workshop is your authentic truth, your higher truth, I pointed to it earlier, your heart center, the higher self is your highest authority. And we have lived in an age that we're coming out of now called the Piscean age, which was about relinquishing that authority, giving it away, putting others as an intercessory between us and the divine. We're coming out of that now, and we're coming to realize collectively that we've always had that power. And what I love that has been playing out over the previous couple of years is that we're starting to see a real movement now towards one's authentic power, the power of the people, remembering who they are. And it's a beautiful thing to be watching as this new consciousness is arising.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's really beautiful to see the unique journeys that people have in their lives and how they connect. And one thread that I've noticed in witnessing people make this connection to the quantum within themselves when they find that access point. And there's lots of ways to get there, whether it's hypnosis, uh, psychedelic medicine, prayer,
Mm.
meditation, yoga, surfing, scuba diving, making love, right? There's lots of ways
Going to
that
the gym, lifting
go.
weights as I do many
Yeah,
times a week.
yes, yeah. And that unlocks some potential within where, wow, what is this in me that I'm connecting with that does have infinite potential and infinite energy?
Mm. So true what you're saying. And for the audience's sake, this is simple to understand because what we do when we do the things that you just mentioned, when we go to the gym, when we participate in life, when we meditate, when we go into hypnosis, what we're really doing is we're drawing away attention from the conscious mind. And very often we're bringing it into the body or the heart space, and we're coming from a different perspective. And when we come from that different perspective, which you might call your beingness, your higher self, your intuition, your heart, you perceive reality very differently. You're on a completely different frequency.
Yeah. And as you share that connection to the heart, it also lands as we step into authenticity of also connecting to the soul body, like the soil of the soul is what comes up, right? And how
Mm.
we're the soil of our soul and its relationship with our environment and all the elements around us. So I'm curious about your connection of navigating this space of authenticity and that inner realm of uniqueness that the soul, each human being has this fingerprint or this soul essence. And so as we move into this world where there's all this technology, right, and synthetic imitations of expression of what the feeling might of the quantum might be like, or this field of potential, it seems really important to me that we lean more into the conversation that you brought up of in our last call together of authentic. And to me, that's diving into the deeper layers of the soul essence of
Mm.
that unique imprint that's in each of us. And so I'm just curious, when you're working in this quantum healing modality or in this moment right now, what comes up for you around that?
I think that we're all aware we're moving into more of a technological society. We're communicating through technology now to even have this conversation. I think it's more important than ever to, with the increase of technology, to be really understanding where true power comes from. And I was just overseas in Bali just a few weeks back, and even over in a different culture, part of the world, I noticed how connected everybody is to their smart devices, how
Mm-hmm.
much time and attention that they give to their devices. There's nothing wrong with devices. We use them as great tools to communicate, to connect, and they're wonderful things. But more importantly than ever before, we have to first connect to ourselves. And I'm not talking about the analytical mind or the physical. I'm talking about the real you beyond form. The
Mm-hmm.
best way I articulate this is think of the body and the mind as a vehicle, like your motor vehicle or any other vehicle that you have. And you aren't the vehicle, you are the driver of the vehicle. The vehicle gets you from A to B. You will navigate that experience. And it's probably the best analogy of understanding that we are the one animating this physical reality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more important than ever as technology is going to, and this is my own prediction because I read a lot about this stuff, we're going to see a real um, growth and expansion with technology, with our society. It's more important than ever that we go within and we put first that inner realm above the technological one, because otherwise we'll get lost within the technology. Technology isn't inherently bad or good, it's just a tool. And it depends on how you use the tool. You can either use it well, or if used unwell, it will cause you harm, as we can see that people have addiction issues now with technology. So there's nothing inherently wrong with the technology, it's just how we use it. And so I think that balance and perspective is paramount, particularly during these times of change.
Mm. Yeah. And so when you go inward to connect, what are some tools that you've come into that you find to be really effective in your own life and in the work that you do with clients to making that connection more accessible for those listeners who maybe haven't been on this journey as long as you or I, of practicing and incorporating methodologies or tools or music or meditations or ways to like really make that connection inside more alive and accessible.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, there's so many different paths to going within. It might be meditation, it could be yoga. For me, one of my favorite practices, as I mentioned earlier, is to work out, to do physical fitness. The best way I articulate this is what you're doing is you're drawing attention away from where your attention lies most of the time, and that's with the analytical mind, the conditioned mind. And what you're doing is you're drawing your attention away from it and you're bringing it into the body. When you bring your attention into the body, the attention moves away from the thinking into more of the feeling. And then you can feel into it, feeling what feels right. And this heart space that you tune into, that we go into in hypnosis, that we go into when we meditate, is the voice of your higher self. And it is always actually communicating with us, always. No one is absent from this. Most of the time we can't hear it because it's drowned out by the noisy mind, the constant chatter of the mind. And so really, as a practice, to answer your question, one thing that I love to recommend is get into your body more. It might be through yoga or through physical exercise or through meditation. One great practice that you can even do now, and people get this instantly when they do this, is feel your hands and draw your attention. And you can do this if you're listening to this podcast or watching it. Just feel the aliveness in your hands. Feel that you have life in your hands. You might feel tingling. And just draw all of your attention into your hands, into each finger. Feel the aliveness, the sensation. Now, as you reflect on that simple exercise, you will notice that your attention moves out of the mind, out of the thinking, out of the perceptions of the mind, and it moves into the body instantaneously. And then you begin to feel what was already being there, but you didn't have attention towards it. So this is just a simple, brief way of, in any moment, disidentifying with the analytical mind and bringing it into the body, bringing it into the heart, where this feeling space, we mentioned the quantum field is, your quantum body, the quantum field. And as Dolores Cannon, who trained me, many of the listeners will be familiar with that name. She developed quantum healing hypnosis technique over 45 years ago. And I trained in her method when she taught me. You might be able to hear my dog barking in the background. Can you hear it?
Yeah, but that's okay. We love
A
dogs.
cute little dog.
Your dog's joining in the conversation. Curious what he or she, they have to say.
Yeah, he's very sensitive to energy. We must have Amazon at the door or something. When we understand that we can all access this realm really, really easily, and we can do it through so many different practices, then we begin to, like a muscle, develop our intuitive knowing. And this is kind of like to use this example, is like a muscle. You know, if you go to the gym, and as I do, I work out a number of times a week, by using those muscles regularly, they build and gain strength and momentum. This is the same with our intuition, with our awareness. The more that you use it, the stronger it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why many encourage daily meditation or daily yoga or daily exercises that incorporate getting out of the analytical mind and into your body, into your heart, where you perceive reality very differently. And do you notice that often the feeling towards something and the thinking towards something are vastly different a lot of the time?
Yeah, and I like to say, when I talk about emotional intelligence with listeners or people in my practice, is our emotional intelligence is us picking our senses, picking up on a lot, and our heart responding to that and sending electrical impulses throughout our body, as well as our gut, right? Response, our vagus nerve, and the soil of our soul, all kind of giving us this important information that if we really listen to that first before the historian in our mind, it
Mm,
informs us of something really important. So when you share about really deepening that authentic connection and going inward into the heart, there's a place of bliss. And when it's a constant practice, it's a continuous informing. Just like I say, our heart is beating in the background on an unconscious level. Our life force is giving us life all the time. What is that that's beating in my heart? What is that energy that's allowing
mm,
that to happen if I, whether or not I give my attention to it? And when I give my attention to it, how does it change, right?
mm,
Does it expand? Does it want to slow down? Does it want to sing? Does it want to breathe differently? Does it want me to move into a certain part of my body and notice that? Does it want to astral travel into another place? Does it what's happening with that, right? Because it's informing us, and yes, our mind has so much information, and a lot of that, stems from so much data and getting data, just information all the time. And there's a need to just allow that to metabolize and integrate. And it can take a minute, right? When we go inward and really make that connection. Oh, there's so much going on here. This is uncomfortable. And it will, with practice, consistency, and length of time. I think it's 11 minutes with our nervous system, that some of the yogic sciences say. And there's some research out there now too for those of our listeners who need the science to feel a little more safe in exploring this type of conversation, that there's a certain length of time that it takes for our right and left hemisphere of our brain and our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system to start working together in harmony. And from that place, that's when it's like a key in a lock, just opening up to this infinite potential of a deeper layer of awareness. So, yeah, just reflecting on that, it brings me into a space of curiosity more about your own journey and of coming into this work of quantum healing. So I'm curious, for our listeners not super familiar with you and your journey, you have such an attunement and a sensitivity, and I'm sure that came from, many life experiences. And is there anything that you feel would be helpful to share with our listeners about your own journey stepping into this field of work?
mhm. About 16 years ago for me, I went through a challenging period of time, a prolonged challenging period of time. And this is where I was forced through adversity to wake up. And through that waking up, I realized that the mental reality, the mental construct of reality that I was perceiving through offered no remedy, offered no peace. So I was forced to go within, and I was forced to go into this inner realm and to listen to the heart. And this for me became an awakening experience. It took many years to get to where I am now, years ago I studied quantum healing hypnosis technique and some other modalities. And now I share and do workshops for people to help them also discover that inner realm. What I'm so excited about now is we're going through a global awakening. And this has been spoken about in many ancient wisdom traditions this time. Some call it the new earth. Some call it higher dimensional reality, 5-dimensional reality. They all mean the same thing. But as a species, we've been kind of going through our own individual challenges and collective challenges to get to this point. It's like a cosmic alarm clock that's woken us up, and we're being challenged now to go within for the answers. We've been disillusioned by media, mainstream experts. We've been disillusioned by all of that. And we've now really been forced to do our own exploration, our own research, our own discovery to find out what is really true for us. And I will say this to everyone listening: your highest authority is your highest self. And there is no higher authority than your own. Now, this is really against what we've been conditioned to believe for most of our life, and previous generations have believed. We've always had, as I said previously, an intercessory between us and the divine, whether that is religion or government or an expert or a science. And what's so remarkable about the previous few years, and everyone will know what I'm talking about, is that we've watched the experts be wrong. We've watched the people in authority give us the wrong information. And so how much more evidence do we need before we just start to say, my authority is my highest authority? And it doesn't mean we don't have people that inspire us, people that lead the way, but no one's going to save you. You know, a part of the old Piscean age was all about a savior figure, someone external to oneself that was going to fix everything. What we're discovering in the new age of Aquarius is that we are our own saviors, and we can only really save ourselves. And so this is a message that isn't new. This was the core message of Jesus, the Buddha, and many great teachers, is that the kingdom of heaven is within you. Dolores Cannon pointed the way through her many books, is that the answers are within you. It's easy to tap in through a hypnosis session to discover what those answers are. That's the premise of what quantum healing hypnosis is all about. It's bringing a list of questions that you want answered. It's not about having a practitioner answer the questions for you. It's about you answering those questions for you, but not from the conscious mind where those answers are not, from your higher awareness, from the real you.
Mhm.
It knows everything, by the way, because it's connected to everything. And this force, the quantum field, the quantum reality, is present throughout all of life, through every species, through every part of the globe, through the planet itself. Is it alive? It's an intelligent being. And so we're all connected to that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's so important for us to really connect and understand the power of our own sovereignty. And, as more noise or influences are around us, to just keep remembering over and over again that this authentic inner nature is the most powerful tool that we have. It's not even a tool, it's the source, right?
And I love what you said, is we're remembering. This is something that we are aware of at an unconscious level, and it can become conscious when we tune into it.
Mm-hmm.
This life is more about remembering rather than a learning.
Mm-hmm.
Really remembering, because before we incarnated, before the veil came down, we forgot who we are. We knew all of this stuff. We remembered our past lives. We knew why we incarnated here, why we're here for this purpose. And it's something that I love so much about quantum healing hypnosis technique is it's a great method for people to do where they can tap into what their soul's purpose is, what their specific contribution is, why they're here, why they incarnated, and what they're meant to do with their life. We're going to actually be doing this in the Maori retreat on the Saturday. Is we're going to be doing a group Dolores Cannon past life and future life. Some may say, how can you do a future life? Well, when you understand that the concept of time is merely a concept and that everything exists in the quantum reality. And when you understand that, you can travel forward, back, up and down.
Yeah, and that everything we project is going into the quantum as well, and it has this interesting way of, moving in many directions, including coming back into our direction. So it's just so helpful to be aware of. So speaking of your retreat that you're offering on Maui in January, this January 2025, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about that?
Well, firstly, it's my first time in Maui. I've been to Hawaii 3 times, but I've not made it to Maui. So for me, it's such a exciting way to spend the beginning of 2025. And it's a pretty remarkable energetic time. I think a lot of people are aware of this, where we've seen a lot of changes over the last couple of months. We're going to see increasing changes over the next couple of months. And the beginning of 2025 marks the beginning. I'm calling it the golden age. We're heading into a completely different phase of our civilization. So it's going to be a very unique time. It's going to be happening over 2 days, the 10th and the 11th of January at the Waialae Healing Center. And we're not only going to be doing a Dolores Cannon past life, future life regression where you can tune in and get answers. We're going to be doing meditation. We're going to be doing workshops. We're going to be working with nature and the elements. We're going to be doing some sound healing. And it's really an opportunity for people to come together and collectively decide what they want to do moving forward. Do they want to move with the momentum of this golden age, or do they want to stay with what is familiar, what is predictable? Or are they brave enough to really begin something new? And so I'm really excited about this. This will be the first of many events that we'll be having there in Maui where you are. And I'm really excited to be called to be doing this really sacred work in such a sacred place. And we've called it Rise from the Ashes because, we all know about the fire. And I'd be interested to hear your perspective on that. But, this is about rebuilding. And I know it's been challenging. Those that are listening to me communicate, I'm aware of the challenges there that you've been going through in Maui, been following some of your stories. And I know many of you have been disheartened and discouraged and disappointed. I'm calling you to come in and let's create something different. This is a completely new phase. It's a new phase not only globally, but specifically there in Maui. And we're going to build something with really high intentions.
Thank you for having the heart for that. And I understand you've also made it accessible for some of our local listeners as well, so that both our local and our global family that feel called to contribute. And
Yeah, we wanted to make this accessible. Now, over the 2 days, food is included, drink is included. We've got a number of different workshops. We've got the Dolores Cannon past life, future life regression. I'm doing another workshop as well. I'll be also guiding the regression. We've got sound healing and, more importantly, an opportunity for like-minded people to connect, whether it's business leaders, community leaders, practitioners, a place to connect and to create.
Beautiful.
And to remember through
Yeah.
practices like regression work. We always ask the most appropriate either past life or future life or or event in one of those lives is presented to us that has deep and relevant information that we need to hear. If you use the code Hawaii 25, you get 50% off, which I believe in US dollars, it's $299. So that's 2-day retreat with food for $299. We wanted to make this affordable for people.
It's
And
really
even
generous.
if you can't afford that, you can contact us and we can work with you. We don't want to turn anyone away. We'll feed you really great farm organic food. We'll connect you with other like-minded people. And we're going to create something really special. So there shouldn't be anybody turned away. We'll have opportunities for people, and we'll make sure that as many of you that want to come will be there.
Love that. How generous and loving. I got chicken skin. So what a
Well,
special.
someone said to me these things generally cost thousands of dollars. And the first intention that I had is I don't want anyone, and I know a lot of people who have been facing real challenges financially with cost of living crisis, and particularly after the fire. So my intention was that let's start this where everybody can be a part of it. Let it be the first of many events. I want to do this annually. So this is the intention behind it, is to create community, create a space for people to dream again, to get optimistic again, to start this new golden age that I'm calling it fresh. And so we're really rising above the ashes of the literal ashes of the past, being the fire there, but also the ashes of a whole age that has held us captive and bound and ignorant to our power.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just really takes that commitment to just clear the calendar, show up. You've made it accessible and easy for those who really are feeling invited and called to come into a sacred container like this, to really retrieve your unique purpose and space and whatever it is that needs to be remembered, to really live life fully empowered and fully authentic. So just want to thank you, Paul, for having the heart to invite and bring community together so that so many are not so isolated in their journeys, but we can amplify each other, we can activate each other, we can really remember that this life is really meant to be lived to the fullest, not just playing in spaces that are not serving us or our collective any longer. So thanks for creating a space and a container for us to really activate that within and to build community that we can continue to get support and remembrance along in that journey.
I can't take credit for developing quantum healing hypnosis technique. That was Dolores Cannon that developed this. But what I will say is that I have been so moved over the years to witness, so privileged over the years to witness the profound healings that take place through this method. I've seen terminal issues resolved. I had one woman that I worked with through this method that she was given only 3 weeks to live. And years later, she is now healthier than ever after some of the profound healing that happens. There's nothing that's impossible when you're working with this power. And those that maybe have physical ailments going on in their body, or you've got financial issues, or you've got any other issue in life, come to this and be expected, because we see many miracles take place. And like I say, I don't take credit for that, but I'm honored to present this to Maui because this is something that isn't new. It was developed over 45 years. And I'll be doing one-on-one sessions of this as well while I'm there, quantum healing hypnosis technique. And we'll be also doing the Dolores Cannon group regression. This has produced remarkable, miraculous results over many years now, and I'm only expecting for those to increase, and particularly for next year as the energy is shifting, as we're coming into this higher energy, we're going to see a lot more miraculous things occur.
I can't wait. Yeah. Another a chapter of really remembering these miracles and magic and mysticism and potential of our human consciousness. It appears to be, miraculous, and yet this quantum field is full of so many layers of context and structure and also the infinite nature. So it's one of those things that I say in the practice that I was taught, one of my origin spiritual practices with Kundalini Yoga. They have this word, they called it Waheguru. It's like the infinite ecstasy, like the infinite teacher, the indescribable. And so when we talk about something like quantum, it becomes at times indescribable. And that's the beauty and the power of that, is that we can't always conceptualize what something like the word quantum means, but we can experience it and we can know it, and it can translate into major healing and change in our lives. So for our listeners listening today, I just want to invite that remembering in this moment, that just simply coming into that place of connection has infinite potential, that Waheguru. So I just want to invite you, as we start to come to a place of closing, any, final thoughts or advice or context that you would like to offer our listeners to leave with them today.
I want to leave people with a real sense of optimism. We've gone through years now of real big challenges, not only globally, but I think personally. And all the messages that I'm getting from so many different directions, from my own intuition, from my own channeling, from the clients that I work with and their higher awareness and their information, the profound information that they're bringing through, is we really have arrived at a very pivotal time in human history. This new golden age, this new earth reality, it's here. And many are waking up and realizing this truth. There's been a lot of nefarious things happen in this world. I'm no stranger to all of those things. But I think we've really turned a page. And it's not so much that we got saved from it by anybody. In fact, we saved ourselves because through our awareness and our own power, and when we reached a critical mass, we decided that we didn't want to head down that trajectory. So we have collectively created this new earth reality. Now it's time for it to unfold, and you're going to see a lot of changes in the next 3 weeks, even before this retreat. By the time we're there in Maui for the retreat, we're going to be really calling in something. And I'll leave you with this. I'm setting an intention, and this isn't strictly a part of the workshop, but I spoke with one of my clients yesterday who's attending this. We're going to go out in the night sky, and we're going to be calling some of our galactic friends in to visit us. And I know many are aware that we can see phenomena in the sky. Well, we're going to be consciously calling them in to visit us, because we know they're working with us. And so it's going to be a really powerful few days.
Wow.
That's for sure.
Wow. So not just your regular retreat. We are definitely
Nothing regular about this retreat.
Juicy, really activated terrain.
And also, I always say, if you can't prove something, don't say it. I want people to have proof, like let's ask them to show up. Let's ask them to show themselves. And they will, because they love to work with us. They love when they are welcome, they love to show up. And we're starting to see this. There was a conference that happened in Germany where 1,000 people went out, and they did something similar where after the conference, they said they were going to show up, and lo and behold, there they were in the sky, many of them confirming that they're not alone. And so that is a great confirmation that we've got so much help all around us, all through us.
So much support. Yeah. Just waiting to be waiting to be invited.
Yeah, but we've got to invite them in, and this works on the personal level. When you work with your guides, with your angels, you have to invite them in. They won't interfere on your free will, but boy, do they love to help. When you invite them in and you give them permission, they love to show up and they love to work with you.
Especially our healed ones, right? Because those ones are so incredibly effective.
Yeah.
To work with. So thank you. Well, that sounds like a beautiful way to close. So I guess I feel kind of called to invite in a little prayer of closing for our listeners to just allow themselves to turn their attention inward for a moment and to just offer a prayer to the unhealed ancestors that are still in our field or in our bodies or in our DNA, and just invite them to begin the healing process and to be able to really be free to transition, to grow, to evolve, and for our healed ancestors and guides and angels or supports, seen and unseen, to come and support us in this transition, in this awakening, in this growth, in this connection to the quantum, and just to remember, no trauma, just a simple unveiling and remembering of who we really are. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Just invite our listeners to continue to carry this juicy connection with us. It is so, it is so, it is so.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you all so much. And Paul, we're really looking forward to being together in your retreat. And any final thoughts or words you'd like to close with?
I just want to remind you that you are the power you seek. And I want to remind you that you've always had the power. And once you start to step into that boy, you will be unstoppable. And all things are possible. There's nothing that can't be done or achieved. And miracles happen every day.
Sure do. I sure do. And we're going to include the link to your retreat website in this bio. If you'd like to just state it here as well for our listeners that want to continue following, it would be great.
Yeah. So for those that are listening that will remember, it's pwilliamsofficial.com. You'll find the first link on the page there is for the retreat. And until December 31st, hopefully you're listening to this before December 21st, we have 50% off, which is $299 for the 2 days. And that includes all your food, all the workshops, everything for that. I hope to see as many of you there as possible. And it's going to be a very special time in Maui.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, Paul. So for our listeners, we hope to see you again soon and hope to see you at this retreat on Maui.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey through the heartbeats of healing. We hope that Healers Voices has filled your heart with inspiration and brought you closer to the spirit of aloha. As we conclude this episode, we invite you to continue this important conversation in your own life. Let these stories and insights resonate within you and inspire change in your own community and beyond. Remember, the power of healing is within all of us. And by working together, we can bring positive change to our world. Let's move forward with compassion, understanding, and a commitment to living in harmony with nature and one another. We'll be back with more incredible stories and voices of healing from Maui and around the world. Until then, please remember to follow and like us to support this continued raising of awareness, and continue practicing, embodying, and spreading the Aloha spirit to make a difference in the world. Mahalo for listening to Healers Voices. We'll meet again soon.